Hey everybody, Old Man Crypto here, trying to take the intimidation out of crypto for us old folks and others. Let's catch up on where we ended up on Bitcoin after our look at it on the TNA last week, and also take a quick look at Ethereum, and then we'll be right back. Okay, so let's take a look at Bitcoin and Ethereum and see if we can't make a little bit of sense of what's going on in the market right now. We'll start off on the one-day charts, and then we'll drill down and add some layers of some indicators on top of this to see if we can't make a little bit of a forecast on where we think things are going. And we'll do that together. Don't worry if you don't know what the indicators mean or do. We'll get into those down the road, or maybe a little bit in today, but let's just get an idea right now of what's happening with Bitcoin and Ethereum. We're going to start off on the one-day chart, and I like zooming back a little bit because it's a lot smoother, right? We have to wait 24 hours to see where things end up, and if we get into the little candles, the little time frames, that 5 or 10 minutes, there's so much going on, there's so much noise, we need to step back a little bit and get calm. So this helps calm my nerves. If we just find some support levels on the one-day chart, our daily support levels look like they're coming in right around that $6,600 range. You can see right in here. And that we've got some support, or we tested it in here, and then we have some support kind of back in there, and we've got some support over the last couple days right in here at that $6,600 range. Our resistance level, if we go up and look, we've tested right in here at that $91,000, $9,200 range. We tested it in there. We had it trade and kind of support and become a little bit of a support line right in there. And then we've had some action back in this area of support as well. So we're going to call that our resistance at 91. If we kind of bounce off of that 66, that would be our next resistance level. And then if we break through that, we're looking at $11,000 again. So now let's drill down to our first level, that 12-hour. Let's just go into a half-life here real quick. So now if we look at it and we draw some trend lines in here with the orange, we can see where our peaks are, we can see where our bottom level is, and we can see that we're trading in this tight channel right now between those two orange lines. And we've tested it here, and we're coming up and we're testing both that one-day support level. And if we can't have that as our support level and we end up breaking through there because we're hammering at it, right, in a very short time frame, we break through there, we're probably going to continue down this path of the 12-hour. Now let's add a couple more indicators in here to see what we might gather from that. And if we add in our RSI, our relative strength index, and see where that trend line is going, we can see that it is in a bearish kind of downward trend. We can see that on our mid-level, our 50 right here, or our halfway, I'm sorry, not our 50, but our halfway level right here, we're trading underneath that the majority of the time. So we're in that bearish zone. And then if we look at our on-balance volume, our OBV, we're in a downward trend as well. This was the same trend that we were in yesterday, right? And we saw that price movement. We saw a nice little rally here, which indicates that divergence between these two levels going on a downward trend and this price action moving on an upward trend, which just kind of confirms that we're still in a bearish movement. So what happens if we go and look at a 6-hour chart? So let's just half-life this chart one more time. And so here we are on our 6-hour chart, and let's just lay in some moving averages here. We've got a 200 candle, a 50 candle, and a 14 candle. And if we look at that, we can see that we've been under the 200 and the 50 day for a while. That 50 day is trading right along that 12-hour trend line. And then we broke out on that short moving average, right, the 14, and then crossed right back below it. So we've got a ton of downward pressure as well right here on our moving averages. Now, I do want to go back to the one day and look at something that is a little interesting that we should all be aware of. So if I go back and I zoom in on that one day with the moving averages and we see them overlaid on this chart, we can see that now that 50-day moving average is crossing over the 200-day. And you've heard maybe about the death cross. Well, that's where it is, right here. So that just confirms that we've got a ton of downward pressure happening. We're going to need a lot of volume to come in and bounce off of the support level and break through some of these, at least the fast moving trend line of the 14 days, and make an upward movement before, and then look at the indicators and see if we're in a bullish movement or getting on that bullish trend. Now, that being said, we're not taking into account the emotional part of this chart, right? This is all data. Now, there's emotion built in here, probably because obviously there was emotion built into this huge downward trend at one point in time. There was emotion built into this huge upward trend right here at this point in time. But right now, we're going to need a lot of emotion against Bitcoin to push us back up into that bull market or that bull pattern. So right now for me, I'm staying patient and looking at the $6,600 mark and this support here, and whether or not we can close out either below or above it. And if we close out above it, I want to see that close out above these trend lines, at least the short trend line, to see that we're moving into that bullish pattern. Okay, so that'll wrap up Bitcoin. Let's look at Ethereum. Okay, so let's take a look at Ethereum. I'm not going to go into this as in depth as I did Bitcoin because we've already been through it once. But you can see our support levels here are 368. Our resistance is at 455, and our next resistance level is going to be at 515. Now we'll go into the 12-hour and look at some trend lines. Those are drawn in here. You can see where those are at. Let's look at the indicators to see what they're telling us. We are in this downward momentum. We're trading under that halfway point for the most part. We're in this downward momentum on our OBV. And so that indicates to us that we're still in a bearish momentum. Now if we take those indicators off, you can see we're trending or trading right at here, just like Bitcoin. We're hammering against the support level at the 368, call it 370 mark. And if we break through that, we have the potential of going back down on this trend line again, the 12-hour. If we break above that, we will then look at resistance at the 455. Going down to the 6-hour and overlaying our indicators, we can see we're having the same kind of price movement that we did in Bitcoin. We've got all this pressure going on the price. We've come up and tried to test and trade over that short moving average, and we were rejected. So we're going to look at whether or not we can break out of this 12-hour here, and then again maintain some consistency above this short-term moving average, and we want to see something happen on this mid-term moving average. And so for now, look at that 360, 370 level to make some determinations on where things are going. That'll wrap it up for me. Let's see what happens tomorrow.